Hi everybody, welcome back. Look, a quick message from me before today's episode. Appreciate it's been a little bit quiet on the podcast front. There's been a bit of a pivot internally over the last couple of months. I wrapped up season 1 of the Tech Blueprint podcast, and look, moving forward, all of our podcasts, our events, and I suppose content are all going to sit under one roof, which is going to be the Tech Build Network. The idea behind Tech Build Network is pretty simple. We're building a community of founders, CTOs, engineering leaders, and operators who are all trying to solve similar problems, people who want to learn from each other and build great technology businesses. Whether that's through podcasts, roundtables, or events, the goal is really simple. We want to create conversations that are actually useful and hopefully help people that are building companies and teams every single day. With that being said, look, I'm delighted to kick things off with today's guest, who is Anne-Marie Mera. Many of you might already know Anne-Marie from her time helping to scale Tines into one of Ireland's biggest technology success stories as head of sales, and more recently making the move into the founder world as she builds out Picari. In this episode, we talk about what she's building, some of the biggest lessons she took from scaling Tines, the jump from operator to founder, and some of the moments where, as founders know all too well, things don't always go according to plan. Look, I really enjoyed this conversation. I think you will too. Please stay tuned, because if you're enjoying episodes like this, there are plenty more founders and leaders, I suppose, conversations coming up over the next few weeks. Enjoy. Hey, Anne-Marie, good morning. Thank you very much for joining me.
Good morning, Jack. Delighted to have this chat. Looking forward to it.
100%. Look, keen to get stuck into question one, start asking you some stuff. So I suppose before we get into anything else, for those who maybe haven't come across you or Picari before, do you mind giving yourself a bit of an introduction in terms of you and what you're building?
Yeah, absolutely. So Anne-Marie, founder of Picari, and we are trying to build a new way for security teams to discover and evaluate software. I spent my entire career in sales and most recently in cybersecurity sales, and just kept seeing the same problem over and over again. And it was a problem that was on both sides, right? It was a problem for buyers and a problem for sellers. And that was when you're actually looking for a solution. There's so many options out there now. Categories are just exploding, tools are exploding, and it's really hard to keep up with that and understand what solutions you should be evaluating and what's best fit for yourself. When you do actually find a solution that you want to evaluate, it's kind of a messy process right now with filling out forms and waiting for teams to get back to you and repeating your context over and over again. A lot of the times you're not in the market for a solution, and you're just getting sales outbound hit at you with, your inbox is full of messages, your LinkedIn is constant pitches and connection requests, and just a lot of noise when you're not actually, in market. And coming from the sales side of that, it's really difficult for teams to find people who are actively in market and looking. And I think, outbound sales has a 2% success rate. It's a lot of spray and pray tactics right now, trying to find the right person at the right time. And I just really felt like there had to be a better way to do this. So with Picari, we provide a platform where security teams can essentially, through our AI engine, brief their challenge and what they're trying to solve. And we kind of build throughout that qualification process a short list of the top 3 solutions that they should be looking at, and why we, disqualified some of the other solutions, why they might not be a fit for them. But we keep the security team kind of in private, in their own bubble, until the point where they're ready to connect and be introduced to whatever vendor it might be. And on the flip side of that, then, for sales teams and for vendors, we provide somebody who's in market, who's looking for their solution, who has done a lot of the research and groundwork already, and who wants to be connected, so they don't waste their time, looking for leads that aren't a good fit right now. So we've pretty much facilitate the discovery and the evaluation of tools at the right time for the right people.
Amazing. I think you were underselling your background a little bit there, by the way, but having spent years helping scale one of Ireland's biggest technology success stories as head of sales of outside of Tines, do you want to maybe talk about maybe the biggest lesson that you've taken from that experience into building Picari?
Yeah, so I've always been super interested in startups, and so most recently was with Tines, their first hire. back started just before, I think it was 2019. At that stage, it was myself, the co-founders, and quickly it grew to, like, I think it's over 300 people today. Had known the founders from earlier days at DocuSign. So again, was an early employee at DocuSign back in the day. Growing companies is, I think when you join a startup early, you wear many different hats. And that's something that I think I've definitely taken into Picari. There's no single role and responsibility. It's get in and, get shit done, do what you have to do to move the needle forward. I think throughout my career, I've always joined companies early, and that's where I saw the problem of, like, for a startup to get discovered, it's really hard when you're, trying to stand out from all the noise of big incumbents, which have massive marketing budgets, and you're a startup trying to cut through that noise and get discovered. And that's where outbound sales is, it's never ending. You're just constantly trying to reach out. And most notably saw that in security, and just for security teams as well. I mean, when we were trying to get Tines out there, once teams discovered us, they loved what we were offering, but they could never they never heard of Tines. They never heard of the product before. They had only heard of the big incumbents, which they weren't happy with. So that was like, it just kind of emphasized the need in cybersecurity because there's so much noise, but also the stakes are so much higher in cybersecurity to pick the right tool, and the investment is so much larger, and the noise is just so much greater. And when a security team is going through an incident, the last thing that they need is a bunch of vendors trying to reach out and sell them something. So it was really during my time at those companies that I saw the need for Picari.
100%. DocuSign, Tines, I'm sure there's more. There's startups, scale-ups. What would you say, like, across these different technology businesses that you've been involved in? What's like the biggest change you've seen over the last sort of 5 years or so?
I think everything has been changing so rapidly, like roles in particular. There's no standard playbook, right? there used to be a playbook, but it's all changing so rapidly with AI, right, as well, like how people can move. The sheer amount of tools to help you do your job, I think that was like a massive one for us, was just trying to keep up with what all the different teams internally are using. You'd have, your rogue sales rep who's gone and signed up for something else, which has knock-on consequences because the rest of the team want access to it. Security need to know, IT need to know. But I think just like the biggest change was how many tools were like out there to help you move the needle. A lot of the time it creates noise though. And so it was a constant challenge. But yeah, I think just the pace of change right now is it's insane.
What would you say is like one belief that you might hold about either startups or scaling companies, or maybe even leadership, given the position you're in now, that people might disagree with?
Interesting questions. What would they disagree with? Okay. I think, fail fast, fail often, I think is a one that we would take frequently. It's just like that bravery to try, kind of going back to my last point of there's no playbook, like build the playbook. When we were growing super, super quickly and taking on reps, you don't have that perfect onboarding. It's not going to suit for everybody. And so as a leader, I encourage, give a lot of responsibility early, encourage your team to have that bravery to make a mistake. There's, a thousand other leads or opportunities. It doesn't matter if you really mess it up, but don't be looking for that permission or that guidance or that playbook. Get hands-on, get crafting your own playbook that works, and then sharing those results as well with the rest of the team, with the rest of the organization. Just creating that like learning culture, but doing it through giving responsibility and given that early when somebody joins. And I feel like sometimes, people try to handhold far too much. You learn best by doing. And so that's what I've always tried to do is, give a lot of responsibility and learn by doing and not have that fear of failure.
Love that. So like obviously moving from operator to now founder, I'm sure it's been a big transition, but what maybe has surprised you the most since like making that switch?
I think organization and prioritization of your time. It's, I said earlier, you wear many different hats, but being a founder, so I've been an early employee many, many times, and you wear many different hats, in other roles. When I was an early employee, it was an early employee on go-to-market. So you'd be wearing your sales hat, and then you'd be thinking, let's do some marketing, let's go to some events, and we need swag or whatever it might be. But it was always kind of structured within still the core of like what you were hired to do. I think being a founder, though, the sheer volume of hats that get you is can be overwhelming, and it's about being really focused with your time and not being afraid to say no to things that come across your desk. A lot of the time you want to take every single call, every single meeting that someone sets up, but you really have to be strict, because it has to be, is this going to move the needle forward? Is it going to be something that's going to drive the business forward? And if it's not, it just really does need to get deprioritized, because we're doing product, legal, marketing, sales, whatever it might be. There's only so much time in your day. So I think that's been the biggest thing, is just owning your time and being really strict with it.
100%. Look, obviously it's a technology focused podcast, but keen to understand a little bit more about that in terms of Picari today from a technology perspective. What is the sort of current stack like, or what is the technological involvement? Maybe some AI and stuff in there, and if there's any sort of key decisions behind why.
Yeah, so well, right now, I suppose with the product, and we see this, throughout so many products right now, they're all kind of going in a similar direction. We try to make the barrier to entry as low as possible for users coming onto the platform. We've played around with various different, I suppose, experiences, UI experiences in that. But the greatest conversion that we have had and that we've seen is almost like that Chat GPT or Claude. It's that open chat bot window that you into our AI experience, our AI engine, where we go through that discovery with you. But we had looked initially at starting with questionnaires or form fills, but people just want to experience and come in and type what's on their mind now and interact. So that's where we start, is with our AI engine, and what we kind of do there is learn through repeat users coming to the site and seeing it over again, because we're focused solely on cybersecurity. So we want to learn what trends we're seeing in the market, and learn from our data of, okay, we're seeing real spike in interest in certain categories within it, and how we can go kind of further and deeper into that. So we start there, and then once we get kind of further along, we're building out quite a large database of a directory of all the different cybersecurity solutions that are out there. We have over 1,000 right now in our database. It's growing quickly. Anybody who works, that might be listening, or runs a cybersecurity company, can go in and add themselves to our database, to our directory. It's completely free to do so. And then the kind of real meat of the product is our bake-off space. And that's where security teams come and build their proof of concept, right? When they're evaluating security tools, it normally comes down to a proof of concept where they're evaluating 3 different solutions. We provide the space that they can build out that criteria. So every proof of concept typically involves like key POC tasks. It must integrate with X, or it must have certain function and capabilities, or compliance, SOC 2, all of those type of things. So that's where they can use our space to build out the bones of what that POC will look like, inviting their teammates, very collaborative. We're trying to build a space that they don't need to be in 10 different Slack channels and have 10 different email threads going. It's a single space for collaboration. Then they can invite, when they're ready, the vendors into a shared workspace where they've got those channels that they can communicate with vendors and with teams. And at the end of that, we will have learned how they started with their brief, what they wanted to achieve, and boil that down into a report of everything that has been evaluated throughout the whole process, so they can take that internally and try and get sign off.
Wow, unreal. I know I spoke to you before. I've added a new section, this ship Ship happens. I need to make sure I'm saying that correctly. It is with a P. I know I've got a strong Belfast accent. But I suppose like every founder, look, will have moments or a moment when things aren't going 100% to plan. Are you able to tell us about a time when ship happened and I suppose you'd learn something from it?
Yeah, I suppose it wasn't that long ago actually. We were at an event, a startup, cybersecurity startup event, got on stage, pitched Picari in front of an audience of buyers and vendors, and it went really, really well, right? And we had folks taking pictures of the slides to take note afterwards to go and search the directory and add their companies to the directory. Came back and saw we had like 50 requests pending. And none of it was supposed to have automation in the background that all of the vendors would get their profiles approved, claimed all instantly. We had a bug, none went through.
Okay.
I was like, okay, we've got 50 here in the backlog waiting to get through. We're a small team, right? So it's like 2 or 3 of us going back through manually, approving all of those, reaching out to them. It was, it's one of those things where like a small thing can throw off the flow, and you stand up on stage and you've got prime audience ready to go, and something tiny happens that throws it all off. So definitely a frustrating one, but one that we've learned from and made sure that the next time we're up on stage and we're introducing it, everything was perfect and ready to get all those claims through. So yeah, it was annoying one, but ship happens, right?
Happens. Exactly. That's the whole reason I've created this. Amazing. And look, final thing from me anyway. I suppose like advice to potentially some other founders who might be listening or people that might want to jump in your shoes one day sometime soon. What is something that I suppose now, I look as a founder that maybe you'd wish you'd known on day one, or perhaps maybe other advice you could give people that are, like I said, hoping to maybe jump into the same direction that you've taken?
I think, it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy. I think if it was easy, everyone would do it. I think sometimes you can see on LinkedIn the success stories and think it's glamorized. It's a lot of work. It's not a 9 to 5 job, but it's highly rewarding. It's really exciting, to be working on something that you truly believe in and that you're passionate about, and seeing that grow and scale is so exciting. I think now more than ever, if you have that idea, it's easier than ever to get an MVP built and to try and get that traction. So I would say go do it, try it. Network is so important, and who can help you, and you'd be surprised at how many people are out there trying to help you succeed. So definitely don't build alone. Build in a network, but just be aware it's going to be a lot of work, but it's highly rewarding. So go do it.
100%. Lovely advice. Yeah, look, that's all the questions that I have for you from my side. Look, obviously, just want to say that thanks very much for joining me today. Make sure to post in the comments with regards to tagging you on Picari as well. Anyone who wants to connect and learn more, they can reach out. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Jack.